Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. I've come back up to East Flat Rock, North Carolina to Mr. Maple, and this is Tim. You guys have seen on the channel before.
Yeah, and appreciate you coming today. Appreciate you coming to talk to us about maples. That's obviously one of our favorite topics here at
Right?
Mr. Maple.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, so how was your, I've been here since the pandemic started, and obviously your business, like so many nursery businesses, grew quickly. You guys are doing mail order. Has it sustained itself, or is it dropping, or is
it's continuing to grow?
Is it really?
We've constantly, there's a peak where it went straight up for a while,
yeah,
and now it's still at a pretty nice incline where people are still wanting Japanese maples for their landscape and garden. And we've had to hire a lot of staff.
Right.
We're 20 plus employees, closer towards 30 if you include me and Matt.
Yeah, I had lunch with you guys today. So it's quite a crew.
We've got a great group of guys who've really learned a lot about gardening in the last year since they've joined.
So this is a family business. You and your brother Matt and your dad before you, right? And we're at your parents' house now.
We are. This is where everything started here. This is my dad's garden. Matt and I planted a lot of these plants out in this landscape and garden about 2006 to 2008. A lot of the cultivars, and we are a mail order business. I mean, we do 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples. That's our focus.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And you say this video is meant to be. I'm gonna pin a guy down who does something who has 1,000 varieties of something and say what's your absolute favorite of all the Japanese maples.
And this is one of the hardest questions Matt and I get.
Yeah, right.
And when it comes to Japanese maples, we do over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples.
Yeah.
And so we always say, oh, we've got a top 10, top 20,
right.
And that top 10 is constantly changing.
Yeah.
But to have your number one Japanese maple, we love this plant. So this is one of our top favorites. This is my top favorite, is Acer palmatum Mikawa yatsubusa.
Gotcha.
And it's a small, dwarf, slow-growing tree. This tree will end up getting about 4 to 5 feet in 10 years. It makes this sort of architecturally very interesting plant with these arms that sort of stick up, but this tightly layering shingling habit.
Right.
J.D. Vertrees is credited with bringing this tree to the United States, the guy who wrote the book on Japanese maples.
Yeah.
And this is the very first Maple of the Year with the North American branch of the Maple Society. Gotcha. When Matt was the president of the Maple Society, he said, guys, we've got to have a Maple of the Year. And this one was the very first one.
Right.
And it's because if you have a group of people who collect Japanese maples and they've got this is one that's very unique and stands out.
Right. So and there's a lot of variations on Mikawa though, right? I mean,
yeah.
How many?
So now because people love Mikawa yatsubusa so much, people started looking through seedlings. I think Talon Buchholz was one of the first guys who found Japanese Princess. Okay. And then when it started going through more and more variations, there are now ones that have pink spring interest, ones that have orange spring interest, ones that have red spring interest, ones that have, we've got one that's called Koi that has a bronze spring interest. And so it's got the same shape, the same dwarf habit, but gives you something different in the spring with a bronze color. We've got one that we're going to introduce in a few years called Red Panda. That's the red that holds its color the longest in the season. And so those are all variations of the cultivar Mikawa yatsubusa, and all of its progeny are the reason we love this plant. That's why we're looking through it to find variations on it. People use this one for bonsai all the time.
Right, and it kind of presents itself that way.
Yeah, it looks like
and it's natural.
It looks like a big bonsai out in the landscape.
Right.
And that's the thing that makes this tree so attractive. Matt and I, we'd go visit nurseries for years.
Yeah.
And we would say, what's your favorite Japanese maple? And when you're talking to the nurserymen, they've got a lot of Japanese maples.
Yeah.
And the number one answer we always got was Mikawa yatsubusa.
Right.
And it's by far one of my favorite Japanese maples. There's so much I can talk about it because I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But
here we are. We're almost November, and you guys are maybe half a zone 7A.
Yeah,
you're 7A. We're
7A to 6B.
Okay,
we're right in that area.
Gotcha. So it's almost November, and we're still, you still got green in the green in it. It's one of the latest to hold on to its leaves here.
Yeah, this one typically goes to some really nice oranges and reds.
Yeah.
We've already had 28 and 29.
Plus dry.
But
very dry summer.
So very, very dry summer.
Yeah.
And so this one's starting to get to some, we'll be starting to get some fall colors probably in the next week.
Right.
Some of our Mikawa yatsubusas in other gardens, because We plant them everywhere,
right? Yeah.
Because we love them so much. But some of them have already went to fall color this year, and some of them have even dropped.
Right.
But in this particular microclimate, this one has held on its leaves and is still green currently.
So let's go through and just talk about, because these are 4-season plants, right? So
they
let's
really
talk
are.
About spring, summer, fall, and winter.
So in the springtime, Mikawa yatsubusa leaves out in the spring with like these really pretty chartreuse green leaves.
Right.
And that tightly layering habit just gives this thing like an animal-like feel when it's out there in the landscape. Right. I mean, the texture with that green color really is extremely attractive in the spring. In the summer, you're gonna get the same thing out of it. You're gonna have that bright green leaves, that tightly layering habit. In the fall though, I mean, this thing typically lights up. You can get some really nice oranges and reds on there. And the fall color is outstanding on Mikawa yatsubusa. Typically, even smaller plants, once they're established in the landscape and they get an adequate amount of water, can even give really good fall color, even on young plants on Mikawa yatsubusa.
Right.
And so, definitely one of my favorite Japanese maples when it comes to that. The spring color, the fall color, the habit is what makes this thing so special. With that bonsai-esque habit, that tightly layering habit.
Right.
I mean, it looks like an animal, that's something that's alive out in the landscape, even being a plant.
Right. And then in the winter, of course, it's going to have that bonsai type structure.
Exactly.
To it. Okay. So where are we going to use? Where would somebody use this tree in their landscape?
Well, smaller places out in the landscape are definitely a great place to use it.
Right. How old is this one?
This one here is probably about 25 years old.
25 years old, and you got,
Yeah, and my parents are using this as a focal point.
Right.
As you walk right into the garden, it's the first thing.
Yeah, it's a split in the sidewalk here. It's right in the thing that's being presented.
Exactly. Right. And so it's sort of the entrance to our nursery. When people walk in their garden, they see this Mikawa yatsubusa.
Right.
That's a great way to use it. But it's also a great tree for bonsai. Very popular for that. Great for containers.
Right.
And
because of its rate of growth.
Because of its rate of growth, it's extremely slow growing, and that tightly layering habit is because of that slow growth rate.
Right.
And it's just super attractive for that, and it's extremely heat tolerant.
Right.
I mean, this plant is extremely heat tolerant, does well zones 5 through 9. I think anybody can grow this tree.
How much sun? Is it more sun tolerant than others? Or
yeah, it's extremely sun tolerant. I've seen this tree growing in full sun in Dallas-Fort Worth, which that's
a tough place.
That makes it extremely hardy and easy to grow. And if they can grow it in full sun in Dallas-Fort Worth, you can grow it about anywhere.
Right. Absolutely.
I love this plant, and it's just a plant that's just so unique and different. I mean, we've got 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples, and this is one that stands out from the crowd and says,
in a group of 1,000.
I'm different, I'm unique, I'm special, pick me.
Okay.
And
well, awesome.
And that's why it's one of my favorite Japanese maples.
Yeah, good. When it's always hard to pin somebody down on what's your favorite plant. It's almost a thing we laugh about in this business when somebody says that, because then you look around and go, well, right now it's that one.
Well, it's easy for us because we have 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples, and picking it's hard to pick because it's like picking your favorite kid.
Right.
I mean, you've got to, it's very, very difficult. But Mikawa yatsubusa and its offspring, those are our favorite Japanese maples when it comes to it because they're just so unique.
Nice. Thank you very much, Tim.
Yeah.
And I'll have MrMaple.com linked down below the video if you guys are interested in shopping for a Mikawa. Thanks for watching.